Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. We are joined by very special guest, Damien of Riggos Rag. How are you doing tonight, sir?
How you doing, brother? Thank you for having me.
Of course, and it's great to be in your presence. I know that you just started a podcast with the Dames Drop Back, and your first one of your first episodes, you had Deron Payne on. How was that?
That was a fun time. It was definitely dope, kind of just chatting up with someone who's really like, we're the same age. It was kind of cool. It was like talking to one of my homeboys, you know what I mean? It was fun. Kind of got to hear a side of the story and kind of just hear everything about him. You know, what more could you ask for?
How weird is that, by the way, when you meet like a football player that's your age and you're just like, man, you're like making millions right now. This guy's a millionaire. Here I am.
It's definitely, now I'll tell you this, I was nervous, very nervous beforehand, just because it was my first one and everything like that. But it is definitely interesting. It's funny, especially when you interview people that you go to college with, college football players, and you're like, hey, what do you do? Like, how's, life outside of practice and everything? And they're talking about hitting up the square and going to the bars and stuff like that. I'm like, oh man, you just like me, except you just play football.
Oh shoot, dude. Unlike that one Oklahoma Sooner wide receiver, did not have a fun time at the bar in that bathroom. But speaking of hard hitters, the one question, this episode is called Strap City. And the reason why that is because the Washington football team made a big splash last week that by signing William Jackson III from Cincinnati for a $14 million a year per contract. So let me ask you, Damien, in your opinion, what does he bring to the table? What does this now do for the Washington defense?
In reality, bringing in William Jackson, you automatically upgrade from Ronald Darby just kind of on a face value. But as a man corner, he's one of the best in football. As a total corner, like I know many people say like, oh, he doesn't make a lot of plays in terms of interceptions, but his limitations in coverage, I can't see him, especially in man, especially considering this team now, if they're going to be floating around a lot more cover one, where they're just press man with Kendall and William Jackson, they got one of the best in the league at that. I think overall, adding William Jackson, he's a sure tackler. He's really, really good in coverage, and also kind of a really down to earth, humble guy. You kind of heard that in his press conference. I think he just embodies the culture, and on the field, off the field, I feel like it was a great signing, and he's just going to be an impact player.
Right. Yeah. So sticking with the secondary, a big question right now is Landon Collins. Well, how do you think that plays out? What do you think happens with Landon Collins? Do you think he ends up getting cut? Do you think he sticks around? What?
This is the biggest year in Landon Collins' career coming up right here.
Yeah.
Right now, they need to play Cam Crow no matter what. Yeah. Cam Crow needs to be on the field, regardless. The only issue with Cam Crow is he doesn't have, full safety range in terms of cover one, cover three safety range. You know what I mean? Single high range rather. But Landon Collins, he doesn't want to move to linebacker. I mean, we've all seen every time it's brought up, he seems really quick to shoot it down. I think what Landon needs to do is he needs to embrace being closer to the line of scrimmage, and regardless of if it's a position change or just where he's at permanently, he needs to embrace that. And if not, they won't cut him this offseason. There's too much dead cap. But after the year, they definitely can. Yeah. Shout out to the cap people over there in Washington, because they made that deal to where if they were to release him next year, it's very minimal dead cap.
And if he's not playing, that's a lot of money to have on the bench.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is money wise, you need to play him. You have no choice.
Yeah. Exactly. And sticking with the defensive side of the ball, obviously we're talking about William Jackson. He was a big pickup on the defensive side of the ball. What are the key additions do you think they needed to make to the defensive side of the ball to kind of lock in that unit as a solidified top 5 unit?
So for me, before free agency and everything back in January, I wrote a piece about how I believe they should have went after guys like Levante David and KJ Wright just to shore up, will linebacker. I feel like now after the departure of Kevin Pierre-Louis, they're going to need that even more so now. If they're not going to attack it in the draft, KJ Wright is still out there. I think just getting a good coverage linebacker and someone like KJ, who's been a leader, has championship pedigree, I think he'd be a great addition. But nonetheless, if they weren't going that route, you have a guy like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. You have guys like Zaven Collins, even Jabril Cox, a guy who I really, really like and think he's might be a little bit better than Zaven Collins, hot take, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I'm a very big fan, of the moves they made so far, and I think adding Will linebacker would be huge for this defense.
Yeah, and the other signing that Washington did was Ryan Fitzpatrick. That blew everyone's minds. Nobody heard this was coming down the pipeline. It was theoretically brought up being an option. Now that they have signed Ryan Fitzpatrick, and it's about a $10 million deal with $12 million max with incentives, do you think that there is a quarterback competition? You know, I watched Taylor Heineke's film the other day from the Tampa Bay game, and I thought I was so impressed by watching that game again. I really do believe that he deserves a shot to be able to start, possibly. Now, doesn't mean that he just plays subpar and is able to play. Obviously, Ryan Fitzpatrick has the edge there. But in your opinion, Damien, do you think there is slightly a competition level to that?
No, I don't. I was trying to be respectful. But I don't believe so. Just because Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think in every aspect of the position's better than Taylor Heineke. Then again, I'm not going to disrespect his mobility because Heineke, we saw what he did. He went Superman on him. But in all seriousness, though, I think Fitzpatrick's just a better leader. He adds more to the position in terms of actually throwing the football, pre-snap stuff, everything like that. While I do agree, it should be an open competition, generally speaking, I don't think it'll be much of one because I think Fitzpatrick will run away with the job.
Right. Yeah.
Taylor's got to stay healthy too.
Yeah. I mean, he's played in 2 football games or 2 regular season games and got hurt in both of them. I mean, and now with soft injuries, he messed up his shoulder pretty bad against Tampa Bay.
So the other big signing, of course, Curtis Samuel, somebody that everybody a lot of Washington fans wanted to see come here. How do you think he is deployed? How do you think Scott Turner uses him? Because they have a lot of these guys that are running back / wide receiver / running back. So how do you think they use Curtis Samuel?
So I'll preface everything that I'm about to say with, I was a little bit questionable of the fit. I know everyone was like, oh, Scott Turner, he's just with Scott Turner, I had Mark Bullock on me and him talked about it a little bit as well. It doesn't really excel at the Z. He is a, bona fide. He's a slot wideout. I think right now what they're going to have to do is honestly just feed him. You need to scheme up touches for him, whether it's in the slot, whether it's in the backfield. That's what they need to do. I know a lot of people talk about how he's, you can use him in ways like on the outside or in the slot to run the, the deep routes that'll open up kind of the 15-yard in that Terry likes to run and everything like that. But overall, I think with Curtis Samuel, the best option, the best thing you can do is scheme up touches, whether it's in the backfield, in the slot, just work them, find a way to get him the football. It's kind of like one of my favorite players in this draft, Rondale Moore. You got to scheme targets for him. Just because, man, when they're dangerous with the football in their hands, you know what I mean?
Especially Rondale with that 42.5-inch vertical he had today.
Yeah, I don't even care that he's 5'7".
I know.
Bring him to Washington.
It's funny. It's a perfect segue into my next question because I was going to say, obviously, Twitter was going crazy today with Rondale Moore running that 4.2 40, the crazy vertical. I was going to ask you, could you see them possibly going that at 19? Me personally, I wouldn't do it at 19 because of Curtis Samuel. They're not really the same player, but kind of the same kind of gadget kind of like player.
Yeah,
right.
So do you see them adding a wide receiver or do you see them staying pat with maybe a guy like Kelvin Harmon coming back off the injury and a guy like Cam Sims getting tendered?
Yeah, I think that at 19, all options are available. Personally, when it comes to Rondale, I wouldn't take him at 19. Even though I love him, I wouldn't just because hypothetically, if you have a guy like Rashad Bateman there, I'd much rather take Bateman over Rondale just in terms of production, health. I think he would add more on the outside. You know what I mean? I'm a big Bateman guy.
Right.
But I would definitely see them adding a receiver round 2, round 3, no questions asked. Whether it's my man Cade Johnson, who I'm very high on, someone like Elijah Moore in the second round. I think adding a receiver, they shouldn't be done. I mean, They need another outside threat. I don't think Samuel can play the outside. I think he struggled a little bit there, but yeah, I would definitely add an outside receiver too. Shout out to De'Ami Brown. Hopefully it's him.
I saw Thor, our previous guest, going on a huge rant about PFF, saying that he only had a couple drops this year, where people were commenting like, dude, I saw him have 2 in one game. Their numbers are off. But my next question for you is, Matt Ioannidis is coming back to this defensive line, and we saw how dominant the defensive line was last year. So how do you see adding in Matt Ioannidis, how that defensive line rotation is going to be this year?
Personally, I was someone who thought that Ioannidis was either the first or second best lineman on the team.
Yeah.
Shout out to Duran. Even though I interviewed him, I got to keep it a stack. I think Matt is better than him. I think Jonathan Allen is as well. So I would definitely have a heavy rotation of those two, first and foremost. But it's a great problem to have.
Right.
He's a really good player. Doesn't make a lot of money. If I remember correctly, his extension is only, I think, 9 to 10 million AAV, if my memory's correct. But that's what I would personally do. I would just have a heavy rotation of both of them. Or all 3 of them rather, and he adds to a strength. You know what I mean? People forget that they're getting him back this year. It does make one of them expendable though. Kind of when you're looking at it from the outside. But I wouldn't give up one of them. Not for nothing. It had to be for something significant.
Right. I mean, they're 4 deep at that interior defensive lineman position too.
Not even including Tim Settle.
Crazy how much depth they have. That's what I'm saying. They're 4 deep with Tim Settle. So I asked Mark Tyler this last week, and I kind of want to get your opinion on it. This is the biggest offseason that Washington has kind of had in a while. How do you think that this offseason differs from the big offseasons in the past, but from Vinny Serrato and Bruce Allen?
I think because they paid actually like not necessarily significant in terms of like too much, but they paid rather reasonable money for the players that they brought in that actually embody a good culture and that fit well with what they're doing. In terms of Ryan Fitzpatrick, even though he's been a quote unquote journeyman who has played well better than his last 2 seasons, he gives you a leadership aspect from the position that really kind of hasn't been there in a very long time. You know what I mean? Alex Smith gave you that. I think Fitzpatrick can kind of fill that role of leadership while also playing better on the field. Curtis Samuel is another guy everyone knows. He's just a very hard worker, is very productive as well. And like I said, William Jackson, another guy, just embodies the culture, plays well, and rather like signings like in the past, whether it's Josh Norman, who did play well, his first couple years. They took a lot of risks on guys who didn't necessarily, change the culture, and who kind of were really, really only really skilled and good in certain schemes and aspects that they were asked of. So I think overall they're much more smarter now than ever.
Yeah, 100% agree. And kind of projecting forward into the season, I'm trying to like hurry up and like speed up to like September. I'm trying to like get the season started already. A lot of these analysts have kind of like, it's been like an influx kind of thing every day where Dallas signs Dak and re-signs Dak. All of a sudden they're the number 1 team in the East now. And then we go out, make some moves with Jackson, Samuel, Fitzpatrick. All of a sudden, a couple of analysts come out, oh, Washington's the team to beat now. And then obviously with New York signing Kenny Galladay, Adoree Jackson yesterday, now people are like, oh, the Giants are in the mix now. How do you kind of see the East stacking up going into 2020?
I think if you have Dallas as the favorite, I understand just because they have by far the best quarterback in the division. But Washington is definitely number 2 or number 1 or number 2. I think if you don't have them in that position, I think you're foolish.
Right.
I think New York, though, is also a sleeper, though they've had a lot of very good signings. Even though, the money wise, they've kind of overpaid for a couple of players. I feel like they're still building towards something great. And hey, if they actually get the quarterback that they need, if Jones, makes a leap or they go another route, they could be a dangerous team. You know what I mean? They're very well coached, I feel. I do agree with, something that Colin Cowherd said that, they improved every week. I do agree with that last season. But I think definitely, it's either Washington and Dallas fighting for number 1 and number 2, then the Giants. And then I think what Philly should do is draft Justin Fields. I'm just not a big Hurts guy.
Take alert. There you go.
Yeah, no, I definitely, no, I mean, every metric you look at, man, the dude wasn't very good last year.
Right.
But hey, we'll leave that discussion for another time. But yeah, no, I think that's definitely how it should play out. It's either Philly and Washington and Dallas 1 and 2, New York and then Philly.
Yeah, and remember everyone kept saying that they benched Jalen Hurts to be able just to ball out of that game and to give a chance at Washington to win it, which was absolutely ridiculous. He wasn't playing well to begin with. Now, I have a 2-part question for you, Damien. How many wide receivers could you see drafted by the Washington football team? And that being said, who would be the odd man out? Like, how would you see it being structured with these wide receivers that are on the roster currently? Who would be eligible for practice squad, and who would possibly be getting cut come the regular season?
So I think they're going to add 1. I don't think they'll add 2, but I think they'll add 1. Even though I like it's a good story with guys like Antonio Gandy-Golden, Kelvin Harmon. People got to remember they were picked later in the draft, and they can be cut this season with very minimal dead cap. I think they'd be even a guy like Cam Sims. I'd give him the edge over both of them just because he was with the team last year. They know what they're getting from him. But I think if your name's not Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, or receiver, or fill in the blank receiver that's drafted, you have to feel like you're on the outside looking in. You have to. You know what I mean? Even a guy, I'm not familiar with the contract situation of Steven Sims. Is he still signed? I can't think off the top of my head.
I hope not.
I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah, if he is. Yeah, no, if he is, he's definitely someone that I could see them also. I think he'd be number 1 outside looking in if they did draft a wideout for sure.
Yeah, I'm not a big Steven Sims guy. I hate Steven Sims.
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just about to ask you what you think outside of obviously another wide receiver and linebacker. What is another need that you could possibly see Washington filling early on in the draft?
Free safety.
Right.
Especially if they're going to run a lot of cover one or just give you a lot of single high looks. I think a guy like Trevon Moehrig from TCU, Richie Grant. I'm a big Richie Grant guy. I've mocked Richie Grant to Washington a million times. I think that he'd be another great fit there.
Right.
But yeah, free safety for sure. And I know I'm gonna go not a big tangent, but just a little thing. I know a lot of people like Trey Boston. Me and Mark Bullock were talking about a little bit on my show. And when you have those those cover two looks, those two deep looks, those safeties have to get to the line of scrimmage very quick and make a tackle. Someone like Trey Boston is not very good at that. He's one of probably the worst tacklers at the position. Definitely someone I wouldn't go after, but I know there's a lot of familiarity there with Ron Rivera and stuff like that. But I think that's what Washington needs to go for, is a guy like Richie Grant or Moehrig, definitely.
Right. And another draft question popping up. Another kind of hot take on the Twitter streets, on Washington football Twitter streets. Whenever we signed Fitzpatrick, obviously there was one side of it where it was a great move. He's a veteran guy, leader. He's going to play with a lot of swag, a lot of moxie. The locker room's going to love him. There's the other side of it where he's too old. We need to be drafting our guy. We need to have the guy of the future. Where do you kind of stand on that? And do you see them maybe drafting a guy in the future guy later in this draft?
So I definitely am on the side where I thought it was a great move. All things, out there that we know of. I'm not a big Sam Darnold guy at all. Not a very big Marcus Mariota guy either. Tyrod, no. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not a very big guy, big fan of any of those guys in the fits in the offense. I think Fitzpatrick, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, with the leadership, I think he's a very good thrower of the football still. You know what I mean? I think he feels that whatever Washington needed very well. In terms of like their future quarterback, though, I'm definitely a guy who's said, they should trade up for a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance. Should they drop to 7 or 8 or 12? I'm a big advocate for that. But if not, if they were to draft a quarterback, I wouldn't draft him within the first, 2 or 3 rounds, just because there's so much talent in this draft, especially at wideout, at will linebacker, even at safety. I think, I would much rather fill the holes in those 3 rounds, or at least have something you can look to kind of help fill the holes on this roster, rather than take a shot on a quarterback that, I know it's basically, I know it's a crapshoot, and especially when you're picking guys in that late in the draft or in those later rounds, there's not a very, high hit rate. You know what I mean? Right. So I would just wait on it personally.
Now, that being said, possibility with them drafting a quarterback in the first round, middle linebacker or wide receiver, that takes everyone out of the whole tackle and offensive lineman kind of mindset. So besides the first round, who are some mid to late round offensive linemen that Washington could grab that could come in and help right away?
So one guy that I really, really like, and I've seen him fall to the second round continuously, is a guy named Samuel Cosmi from Texas. Mm-hmm. Very big kid, very athletic. Played left tackle, I believe, for 3 or 4 seasons. Started, I believe. Just a very good prospect. He's a little bit raw in terms of pass protection, but a guy I really, really like for sure, 100%. Another guy is Kendrick Green from Illinois. I feel like he really fits the Ron Rivera mold and culture. He's a guy who's really, really, he's known to work very hard. He's definitely a guy that, will fall to the 4th or 5th round. But I feel like a guy like him at guard could really, really make a difference and really embody this culture. Those are my 2 for sure, right, off the top of my head, that I really, really like. Even a guy like Jackson Carman from
Clemson.
Yeah. He's a big kid, very big kid. I believe only allowed 2 pressures last season, if my memory is correct. Yeah. Or against top talent, he only allowed 2 pressures, which is, that's fantastic.
We interviewed him a couple weeks ago. He's a great kid too.
Nice. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Jackson Carman, that's Kyle's boy. Kyle's been singing on the Jackson Carman train for years.
I'm so glad you said that, Damien. Now I like you.
Yeah.
You didn't like him before this, Kyle?
No, I did. I'm kidding.
But I know, I just wanted to put you on the spot. So do you see anybody on this roster that could possibly be a surprise cut that may just end up being the odd man out? I know we talked about receiver, but is there any other positions, maybe like running back, like Bryce Love, maybe surprise cut like a Kyle Allen?
Yeah. I mean, in quarterback terms, I think it's either Kyle Allen or Heineke.
Okay, so you think one of them for sure?
Yeah, I think one of them is cut. only because I think they are going to draft at least one quarterback. I think it'll be like 6th or 7th round. That's my personal opinion, and I think they're going to cut one of them. I mean, either way, the dead money on it wouldn't be much. I believe on Heineke, it's only like $1 million, and I think if they cut Allen, if I remember correctly from John Kime's podcast, it would be nothing. It'd be they'd owe him no money. Yeah. So yeah, I think one of them for sure could be a surprise cut. Even a Bryce Love, unfortunately, who I loved coming out of Stanford.
It sucks to say Bryce Love might be cut because we haven't even gotten a chance to see what he can do. But
yeah, I would even say a guy like Antonio Gandy-Golden, honestly. Okay. If they draft a receiver they really like, I know last year he kind of struggled when he was on the field. It wasn't much, but whenever he was, I think they could cut him too.
Did you ask him about surprise cuts? I kind of like froze for a second.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I guess as the roster is.
Did he froze again? It's fine. Damien, I'll ask you a question. Logan Thomas, he had a baller year this year. Everyone looked at it in the free agency last year like, oh, you're not giving Washington enough offensive weapons, especially with Dwayne Haskins. You weren't giving them enough weapons to succeed. So in your opinion, do you see Logan Thomas having more success now with adding with Curtis Samuel in this offense with Terry McLaurin added with J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson?
Oh, yeah, for sure, especially if they add a deep threat in the draft. I feel like a guy like Logan Thomas could really, really cook in those, short to intermediate passing game, and he did last year. I think Logan Thomas was a very, very good signing and someone who definitely could benefit from a new quarterback, one that's actually competent. You know what I mean? I think definitely Logan Thomas. I was really surprised, coming into it. I didn't expect much from him, but he definitely showed a lot last year. And I know they want to add a vertical threat at the position as well. And if they could do that in a couple of 2 tight end sets, have a vertical threat and Logan Thomas, man, I think that would work wonders for him as well.
Yeah, Hall, do you want to go again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just realized I was like talking to myself, and I was like, "Why is nobody?" But as far as going into next year, like I said, it's a first place schedule. Obviously, we won the division last year. We got the first place schedule coming up. Possible 17-game schedule with Buffalo being the 17th game. So with the roster currently as it is, with all the free agent pickups, the guys that we've re-signed, and kind of the other teams in the division kind of adding some more pieces to their teams, where do you kind of see this team potentially? What is the potential kind of cap out wins-wise as this team? With this
I think the highest they can probably get, just all things considered, that schedule is brutal.
Yep.
I think 10 wins is like the highest they can reach. It won't be necessarily an indictment on the talent or the personnel on the roster, but man, it's just a very tough schedule. But I don't think they'll win less than 6 games though. I think they'll definitely win 6 games with a high of probably 10 wins. But they could surprise us all. I mean, I remember whenever we were at 1-5 last year, I was like, oh, we're on the tank for Trevor train. You know what I mean? Everyone was kind of getting ready for it, and then they go on a crazy run, a quarterback change, and hey, now we're here. So I think 10 though, looking at it now is the ceiling, but 6 wins minimum for sure.
Yeah, look,
it's so funny. I remember when we drafted Dwayne Haskins being like, man, that might take us out of the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. Man. We're out of it, but that's not because of Dwayne.
No, and I do think it's way too early to be doing predictions for record because so much can happen throughout the season and before with everything. So you never know what the teams are going to look like, especially with Kansas City imploding their offensive line. That doesn't look as crazy anymore. But so I'm not going to ask you like a prediction for the season, but this defense, do you think that what they built last season was sustained success, that they could carry this over? And do you expect them to have a similar type of year, a worse year or a better year this coming up?
So I actually talked to Duran about this, and I asked him, basically what changed, what happened after y'all were 1-5? What changed? And he basically said like, hey, we always thought we were close. We finally, we started to buy in even more, and we just started, stringing together good games, good practices. And it happened this way. And I believe now, with an upgrade offensively at quarterback, they won't be on the field nearly as much. I feel that the kind of time of possession battle will be a little bit more evened out, and that means fresh legs, fresh arms for guys like Chase Young, Deron Payne. That front four that they definitely feast on. I think that while I'm not expecting them to be, let's say, I don't know where that they actually ranked team wise in terms of team defense.
I think third.
But if they were ranked top 7. They were third.
I think
they were third. Okay, but I know they struggled a little bit against the run.
Yeah.
Now I believe their run defense will improve this year for sure. The pass defense might take a little bit of a hit, but I think as an overall unit, they'll be better. They'll be a better collective unit this year.
Right. But thank God, because they have, like we talked about, their schedule is just so ridiculous, especially like Kansas City, all those guys. So you don't have to get too far in depth on this one, but there's a rumor out there right now that Washington is looking to use Steven Montez in a Taysom Hill type role. Do you see that shaking out at all?
Oh man, I hope you're trolling me.
No, I swear to God,
that is from Yahoo, by the way. That is a Yahoo article.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah. I'm see like this is where I'm a boomer when it comes to like football. This is where like I'm kind of a boomer when it comes to football sometimes, and it's just because I'm not really a big fan of like the Taysom Hill kind of role.
Neither am I
personally, but I wouldn't. I mean, for the love of God, there's only one Taysom Hill. You know, I don't think that's going to be a thing that we see in the NFL much. So, no, I don't see anything coming from that.
It's weird. It's not even like Steven Montez, like
super athletic like that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like he can like run the option, but that's like pretty much it.
Yeah, I've been very vocal about saying that. Like for some reason, Sean Payton has this infatuation with Taysom Hill, and if he was on any other team, he would not get any publicity or playing time.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah,
literally, exactly. Yeah, I don't. Damn, you already asked a tight end question too. Can't really think of another question. Anyone else? You got one?
I got one, Kyle.
Yeah, I was gonna have one more for him, but what I can ask you is two back-to-back ones for you. The first one being free agents left to be signed. Who could you see added? I know you talked about KJ Wright earlier, but who else could you possibly see Washington bringing in?
We talked about KJ earlier. I think just because of the familiarity with Ron, I think Trey Boston's a guy that they, you could always kind of pin them, bringing in for sure. But outside of that, I think they're honestly like pretty much done in free agency. Besides bringing back their own guys, I think maybe they could bring back Reuben Foster again on a cheap deal or something like that. But I think for the most part, in terms of like big acquisitions, I think they're pretty much done at this point.
Yeah, and I think that was a really good one. And to wrap this up here, Damien, it just got announced on ESPN. John Keim just came out with the article and said Jason Wright says that there's a good possibility that the Washington football team could stay as the name. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, let's keep it. Let's keep the football team. I love the name. I love it so much. It's definitely grown on me. Sure. I think referring to them as the football team. In all seriousness, like I don't want to curse, but it's bad. You know what? Like hearing about, hey, we're just the football team. We show up, we play football. We dominate, and that's it. We go home. You know what I mean? Like that's a great. I feel like it's a great name. I know people thought it was a meme and everything like that, but. I mean, after they won the division, I mean, it's leading to wins. You know what I mean? It sounds even better when you're a winning ball club. It's kind of taken
over, because I felt the same way. At first, I was like, the football team, Washington football team. Come on, now that's like a soccer club. But I grew up. I love it now. I think it's awesome. I wouldn't be mad.
Oh, yeah.
And look, that's how I feel about the Warriors because, look, I know that Golden State exists. Everyone talks about the basketball team, but as soon as Washington goes deep in the playoffs and has a very dominant team, everyone's going to forget about Golden State, in my personal opinion. But, Damien.
That's true.
Yeah, I appreciate you for coming on, brother. You do a great job. I didn't realize you were as young as you are. Starting up a podcast, having your first guest being Deron Payne, that is absolutely incredible. You brought a lot of insight. Right. You didn't skip a beat. You knew you had an answer for every question that we had. I really appreciate you taking the time, sir, and I enjoy your articles on Riggos.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all very, very much. And anytime y'all want to talk, let me know. I'm always down.
My man.
Yeah, of course, that.
Man.
And make sure you guys go check out Damien's podcast, Dame's Drop Back. You can where can they find it?
Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Go ahead and follow the Twitter too. It's the same as the name, baby.
All right, there we go. There we go, Dame. You have a good night, brother.
Hey, you too, brother. Thank you.
See you.
All right, man.
Later.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with Damien.
Love that.
Dude, that kid is sharp.
Damien's fun. Yeah,
I didn't know he was that young. I was like, what?
Yeah, I love that.
The same age as Deron.
That's what I was saying. That's why I was like, damn.
I love it when you don't have to, like when you're talking to somebody like that and you don't have to worry about what you're asking because he's going to know what it is. Yeah. Like he just straight up, like I didn't worry at all. I just knew he would know what the hell he's talking about.
Hell yeah. Especially with the day 2, day 3 prospects. He's like, oh yeah, off the top of my head, blah, 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 blah. Like,
oh, never mind. Why am I getting an update on a women's NCAA, bro?
Oh, come on now.
Why did I just get that?
So let's transition to our fan questions. And the first one's going to be from Mike Puckett. He wants to know, Hall, I'll start with you with this one. Does Ron lead us to a Super Bowl during his years as head coach for the Washington football team? He says from where we were before he came and where we are now heading, should the progression be enough to take us? Because he said there's many cases where a second chance head coach takes a team to a Super Bowl and he thinks we're heading in that direction. Do you agree?
I mean, obviously, it's so hard to predict, like, if you're going to make it to a Super Bowl or not, because it's probably one of the hardest championships to make it to in all of sports.
Yep.
But with that being said, obviously, the playoffs, once you get into the dance, you got a chance.
Yep.
It's a one-and-done type of situation, kind of like the NCAA bracket. You got teams that go to Ohio State losing to the Oral Bobs. So, yeah, I mean, look, anything's possible. Yeah. I wouldn't say, like, year 2 just because we're still in that kind of rebuilding, kind of ascending mode. But I will say that definitely between like years 3 to 5 of his contract, I definitely think if they can find that franchise guy and they can draft that guy, get that young guy on the contract where you can even add even more pieces around, I definitely do think it's a possibility. And if you think about the rest of the NFC, like you got guys like Tom Brady who, I mean, he wants to play till he's 45, but who knows, he might even play longer with where he's going. But you got older quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson's getting up there in age, even though he's still kind of in his prime, but he's getting hit a lot. So is his body still at age? You never know. Like I said, Tom Brady's on his way out. Matt Stafford's up there in age. So, I mean, there's definitely a chance where the window's opening, especially with this defense that we're assembled right now. So I would say between the years 3 to 5, possibly, but I definitely just expect year 2 to just build off of last year. For the most part.
Mike, I definitely think so. You know, before the season, all the analysts and all the knowing fans said that this was a bottom 5 team, ranked them as being in the top 5 in the draft this year. And I know it was a poor division, and I know they only won 7 games, but playing with 4 different quarterbacks, there's not many teams in this league that could be able to pull off 7 wins. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. And I said it last season before the season even started. Ron Rivera is more valuable than any Chase Young or draft pick. What he brings to the table, his type of mindset as a head coach is exactly what Washington has needed for a very long time. A very stern, smart, and respectable coach that's going to be able to grab this franchise by the throat and say, this is what we're doing. And that's what he's done. And it's the perfect recipe for this situation. I think it's a great relationship, and I definitely think it's going to happen. I'm not going to predict when it is, but I definitely do believe they are in that direction. They really are. And like Hall said, once you get to the dance, you never know what could possibly happen. We saw them with Taylor Heineke last year have a really good chance, and so maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick rides on his horse after the season, taking him to the Super Bowl. You never know. What about you, Reed?
Yeah. Next question.
Perfect. I love it. Now, Tony Shivers' question is, I'll start with you, Reed. Where do you rank Fitz against all the other quarterbacks in the division?
Where do I rank Fitz? I would say I rank Fitz second right now, just because of Fitz, if you really look at him, like Tay and Todd, they did a fantastic job of breaking down Fitz's last 16 games. Fitz has been very good. He's been incredible. He's just a playmaker, man. He has fun. His guys love him. I'd put Dak number 1, Fitz number 2, and then Danny Dimes, even though he doesn't really throw dimes anymore, and then Jalen Hurts number 3 or number 4. But yeah, I mean that's a good problem to have. I mean, Fitz is fantastic. Saying that he's the second best quarterback in the division right now, I mean, I like that. With this defense, these playmakers, I love that.
Yeah, and I would say second as well. I would give roughly Dak the first just for now, just based off of previous, because we don't know how he's going to look coming back from that injury. You never know how he's going to look coming back. Now, I'll have Daniel Jones at third, and the only reason I'm doing that is because I really liked Jalen Hurts going to Philly. I thought him and Doug Peterson was actually a really good fit, the way that they run their offense. But ever since they got rid of him, I don't have confidence in how that head coach, who can't even do a press conference, is going to be able to handle himself in the Philadelphia market, to be perfectly honest with you. It's going to be really tumultuous in my personal opinion. So I definitely think Fitz is second in the division. What about you, Hall?
So we have the exact same order.
Yeah.
Tight.
Yeah.
Because I do think that Jalen Hurts is good. It's just I feel like now he's in a bad situation.
And he hasn't shown enough yet. It's going to take him some time.
I mean, look, anytime you got a team, obviously it's all like draft smoke and mirrors at this point in time, but where there's smoke, there's fire. So anytime you got a team with a quarterback talking about possibly taking another quarterback and having a competition with that same draft rookie quarterback, you're probably the worst quarterback in that division. So You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I like Jalen Hurts. I definitely think that with a little bit of time and development, a lot more starts under his belt, he could turn into something. But he's the type of quarterback that's not going to really elevate his team. He's going to need the weapons around.
Right.
And obviously, Philly doesn't have that right now. So just by default, he's the fourth in the division.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts, I mean, he seems like a nice guy.
I thought you were going to crush him after.
No, remember, that's the bit. Is saying
he seems like a nice guy.
Remember Wole said that to us about Dustin Hopkins?
That's just...
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
A generational fan wants to know, Hall.
Steven Sims too.
A generational fan asks us, Hall, offensive tackle or linebacker at 19?
Zeesh. Man, it's crazy because in the beginning I was all about like draft a receiver at 19, but obviously they got Curtis Samuels now, so you can check that off the list. And it's crazy because usually I'm not more of like a trenches, like a box kind of guy. I want the outside guys. I want the speed guys. I want the playmakers because I just love that. But I would not be mad if there was like Christian Darrisaw was there at 19. And I would not be mad if they took Zaven Collins at 19. I've been saying ever since they hired Ron Rivera that he's going to need to find his – what's his name? Zaven, yeah. Zaven
sounds tighter, though.
It does. You know, I was trying to give him a little bit more swag.
Quit trying to spice it up, boy.
Yeah, trying to put some spice on it.
Yeah, like Joe Dierte.
But hey, I like Zaven Collins. I've been saying that Ron Rivera needs to find his like kind of Luke Kuechly, his captain of the defense, his guy in the middle that's going to be able to, like I said, put everybody in place, get everybody in line, call the defensive plays out. So Zaven Collins or Zavion, if you want to spice it up a little bit, would be perfect at 19.
Yeah, look, in my personal opinion, I've done a bunch of mocks, and Micah Parsons has been there at 19. If Micah Parsons is there at 19, you pull the trigger, you send that to the bank, and you don't think twice about it. Regardless of character concerns, this coaching staff with Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, they're not going to allow that guy to kind of pull that kind of shenanigans in the building. And so that's where you pull the trigger. Now, if he's not there, and if Darrisaw's possibly there, I think that a trade candidate could very well be Jacksonville because, you know, they just drafted Trevor Lawrence, Cam Robinson. I said it on the HTWR podcast. I was on them on Sunday, and I said, look, they have Cam Robinson. He's a good player, but he graded out very poorly last year. And if Jacksonville, who has 5, I think, no, that's the Jets, but they have a bunch of picks. If they want to jump up and get Darrisaw there at 19,
Jacksonville's a bunch of picks.
I think you go back to 25, and that's where you can slot in Zaven Collins and feel really good about that pick. Meanwhile, picking up other second, possibly third-round picks in the process. And I would really go down that avenue.
Right.
No, look, I think that they need to add some offensive linemen, 100%. But there's a plethora of them in this draft. And there's one guy's name I've always had circled. You got Jackson Carman. You can get him in the second or third round. And so getting extra picks in that scenario while getting a linebacker you could plug in right away is the best in my dream scenario. What about you, Reed? Offensive tackle or linebacker?
Linebacker, in my opinion. It depends on who's there, though. But I do like you said, Parsons obviously is the no-brainer if he's there. I like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah as well a lot. But yeah, I just think linebacker is a more pressing need right now. I've thought linebacker was a pressing need in all offseason, all season, and then losing KPL makes it an even bigger need. So, but it depends on who's there. If somebody like Rashawn Slater falls down somehow, then I think you got to scoop him up. But yeah, I'm all on board with linebacker train. All on that linebacker train, fam.
LBT.
I'll harp on the linebacker. I'll harp on the linebacker need
100%.
later because Douglas asked us a question regarding that. Now, Dan Carnevale wants to know what tight ends may Washington be interested in during the middle rounds? And I'll start with you.
Okay.
Reed.
Somebody who I really like is a Hunter Long from Boston College. He's somebody who I know he could end up being a higher pick. He could be a day 2 pick, round 3. But he's somebody who I really like. I think he's very interesting. I think he has the right body, the right athleticism. I know we've talked about Kenny Yeboah, who's somebody who's a fantastic athlete. And Hunter Long is another guy who I think he could be a mid-round steal.
Yeah, the one issue I have, I just did not like his tape at all.
Well, that's because, you don't know what you're doing.
I know. No,
I'm kidding.
He just didn't seem like – it's not like one of those guys. Like, he got a bunch of targets, but it wasn't like
That's right.
somebody that was, like, starving for targets. Like, anytime the ball's near me, I'm going to get it, the kind of thing with Hunter Long. But I don't
That's why I think that he's a day 2, 3 pick.
Yeah,
maybe possibly day 2, just based off of his traits. But day 3, I think that's why. If he dominated like he should have, I think he would be way higher. just because he has all the traits.
There's two names here. The second name I'm going to keep to myself because he's my player breakdown for the day. But the other Reed said is Kenny Yeboah. John Keim talked about how the second tight end they're looking for has to be able to block and be a vertical threat. And that's where I think Kenny Yeboah really does fit in there because he did work on Alabama's defense. I think he could slide right in and help you out a little bit. Obviously, you need to bulk up, get a little bit better blocking, but that's why we have a great tight end coach already here who made the most out of Logan Thomas. I think Kenny Yeboah could be a good piece here.
Yeah. I'm on the Yeboah train now because of you.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely on the Yeboah train because of you. I know Thor, I was highlighting the tight end from BYU.
Yeah.
Which is funny because
Matt
I was trying to figure out his name. Yeah, Matt Bushman. I saw one BYU game the whole year, and it was Matt Bushman was just
He's a beast.
like killing it. And I was just like, yo,
I'm pretty sure
perfect.
I'm pretty sure he's coming off like a major injury though. I'm pretty sure he tore his Achilles or something like that.
Yeah, that might be so. But I was just like watching him. I was like I said, one game. Yeah, I saw,
dude, some of those.
I saw one game and I saw like a total of maybe 10 to 15 plays, and he was involved in like 5 to 6 of them, and I was just like, this dude's gonna be nice at the next level. So he's definitely someone to look out for. But obviously, the guy that you're gonna break down later, out of the University of Miami, is definitely a target I would like to see. No one knows who we're talking about. Or like you said, Kenny Yeboah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, let's stay with you. Orange Crush, who are a great questionnaire, wants to know, who's your favorite coach on Washington football team that's not Jack Del Rio or Ron Rivera?
Ooh, that's a good one. Got to go with my man Chris Harris, just for the simple fact of what he got out the secondary last year, what he did with Cam Curl coming out of the 7th round, making him to like a household name in Washington football land. So definitely Chris Harris. And look, the dude played in the NFL. He has experience in the NFL. He's played in the Super Bowl. He's already getting D coordinator interviews, so you already know he's on the fast track to stardom. Love Chris Harris.
Yeah, look, it was going to be Chris Harris just because he's going to be a defensive coordinator very, very soon. He should have had it last year with the head coaching job and interviewing in Philly. But I'm going to go with Scott Turner. I know everyone is piling on Scott Turner, but the fact is, the dude made chicken salad from chicken shit, and quarterbacks last year and was able to actually produce and get Antonio Gibson going. How often have we drafted guys and they don't formulate and we're like, what's going on? Why isn't the offensive coordinator getting them going? Well, Scott Turner was able to make this offense work. And not only that, he made J.D. McKissick look fantastic, along with Logan Thomas. Terry McLaurin on 2 high ankle sprains had a great year. So I think Scott Turner deserves a lot of credit, and I would say him behind Chris Harris. But look, I love me some Chris Harris, dude, because I feel like
also,
Yep.
No, but I was gonna say shout out Terry McLaurin for playing through 2 high ankle sprains, and LeBron can't even play through one.
I wasn't gonna say
Come on, LeBron.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Somebody's got to say it.
I'm gonna give a shout out real fast. He's not. I will say I do like Ken Zampese. I think that he's fantastic, just based off of his past work. Last season, obviously, didn't really show too much, but my favorite's got to be Randy Jordan. Since you guys took some of them, Randy Jordan's been here forever, and Randy Jordan, he's a fantastic running backs coach. What he did with Antonio Gibson has been fantastic, and the fact that he was a carryover from the previous regime, I think, says a lot about him and how well he's respected.
That's true. They did axe everybody else from the last regime.
Honorable mention, Jennifer King. I really like the fact because she didn't have a full-time job here, and she earned it herself. So and the players talk about how awesome she is on how she coaches them up and paying attention. So Jennifer King, I think you do get a mention in this because I like people who work their ass off 100%. To get what they deserve, and I definitely think that she did. Now the next question for us is not Big Simple. Sorry. Hail to the district. Thoughts on Logan Thomas at not Logan Thomas. Zaven Collins at 19. And I'll start with you, Reed.
I like Zaven Collins. I think a lot of people are talking about the whole trading back thing, and I just think that if your guy's there, then you take him. I think he would fill a huge need. I think he's a talented player. He's the best defensive player in the country last year. I'm okay with him at 19, depending on who's on the board. But a lot of people think that you have to trade back to get him. I think there's a very realistic chance we could take him at 19. If Rivera and Del Rio say that he's the guy, I trust them. They know linebackers better than anybody. Then he's the guy.
No, I would like it at 19. I would love it at 25, adding extra picks. Now, the one thing with Zaven is when you watch his film, he does get swallowed up by blocks. And I remember when I was in high school, there was a coach named Curtis Belcher who anyone you talk to that has played under Coach Belcher will tell you he is the best coach they've ever had. And I remember giving him a bunch of crap saying, I said I loved Brian Urlacher as a linebacker. was fantastic. He was a superstar at that point. And he said, yeah, but Kyle, he was like, when you run at Brian Urlacher, that's how you beat him. When you run sideline to sideline, that's where he's at his best and in the passing game. And he's 100% right.
Yeah,
and that's my
he's
feeling.
A former safety.
That's how I feel with Zaven Collins as well, is when you run straight at him, he kind of struggles with getting off blocks. But if you run a zone run, you have a toss play to the outside, Zaven Collins is all over it, dude.
Right,
he's
let him
fantastic
roam.
at that. And so that's where I kind of feel it's better for him to be at that 25 range and make me feel a lot better about it. But look, I'm not going to be crying over spilled milk if we get Zaven Collins at 19, you know? Like, we need the linebacking help, and he'd be such a huge upgrade in the passing game, especially defensively. I would absolutely love that. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, I'm 100% with y'all where I'm kind of like with Reed where it's if you feel so surely about the guy and that's your guy, go ahead and get him. Obviously, if it's like out of range, like something like crazy and drastic, don't like.
If we pull what Seattle does every year, I'll be like,
yeah, exactly. So if you think that Zaven Collins is your guy at 19, and no one wants to be that kind of trade partner because obviously it takes two to tango, then yeah, pull the trigger at 19. And again, if you think that he's going to be your Luke Kuechly for the next 10 to 12 years in the middle of the field, or your next Thomas Davis in the middle of the field, like middle of your field, defensive captain, linebacking captain kind of guy, then I'm all for it because, like you guys said, we desperately need some linebacking help right now. We desperately need speed at linebacker, and but the way the NFL is going, you need speed at linebacker nowadays.
Dude, and last year he played at 260, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he was going to take some weight off. And look, he was a huge, he had like 3 return touchdowns last year, which is absolutely insane for a linebacker. And if he loses a little bit of weight, he would fit in perfectly in that 4-3 scheme, in my personal opinion.
Another good thing he brings is he's actually a pretty good pass rusher too, especially for a linebacker. So he's somebody you could use on blitzes and who could kind of fill that role.
Great job, Reed. Now the next question for us is Andy Burrows on the UK. Oi! He wants to know, Hall, is it about time that we see some black uniforms?
Man, you already know. Me and Kyle, we've been talking about this for years now. Like, it would be more than lit. It would be like. It'd be like literally, it'd be a new age. That'd be like the most Jason Wright thing to do. Just pull out the black uniforms out of nowhere. Just like they put out the all whites last year for the big game. Just for like the big home game of the season, one of the turning point games in the season. Just go all black on them or black and burgundy on them. Like, hey, I'm here for it.
Now, I know everyone's going to say black is not in the uniform. Why would you go down that path? The one thing I will say is you could have a black uni with a burgundy outline for the numbers with a yellow number. I think that would look silly. Or you go with the burgundy number with the the gold outline around it. I think that would look clean and that would look good. And strictly just for a specialty uniform. That's all that's happening. Maybe once, twice a year. That's it. Not saying that I know that black is not in the color scheme. I get it. But it adds another element to players. You know what Dion always say: look good, play good, get paid good. So I would love that aspect from them. It just brings a different kind of level to it. You know what I mean? Especially with those burgundy helmets. I think that would look clean.
Yeah, I would probably keep the numbers white and have a double line, a burgundy and a yellow and a gold line going around them. That could be kind of cool, I guess. But yeah, I'm all bummed, baby. I'm bummed. Black unis matter to me, so I'm bummed.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Jeff Gordon, BJJ wants to know, what's the deal with Sammy Watkins, T.Y. Hilton, or K.J. Wright, Hall?
Out of the three, I would probably go K.J. Wright. We've been talking about linebackers, and we need linebackers like badly. Obviously, K.J. Wright's still a force in this league, still a guy that's top 3, top 2 in the league as far as
by PFF.
Tackles every single year.
Yeah.
By PFF, he's still graded up there as a top 3 linebacker in the league. He's obviously a Super Bowl champion. He has the pedigree. I know he's getting up there in age, but again, that's a guy that can come in from day one, plug and play, and would be a huge, huge, huge contributor to this defense and an upgrade on an already great defense.
Yeah,
and good defense. I won't say great.
And if this wide receiving class in the draft wasn't so heavy and deep, I would say Sammy Watkins would probably be a really good option for you as the Z receiver. You could plug him in right away. He did that in Kansas City. Everyone wrote him off, but he came in and looked really good. No one's saying that we have Pat Mahomes here, but the fact is that he could be that kind of perfect Z that you would need.
No, we got Fitzmagic.
Yeah, with a reliable number 2, that would make a lot of sense. But Hall's right. KJ Wright is the one that probably makes the most sense. The veteran mindset you bring into the situation here, could play outside linebacker, has seen a lot of football in his day, and he'd be able to diagnose a lot of bullshit and help this defense get under wraps, especially in the run game. They were very, very poor last year in the run game. What about you, Reed?
Right. That KJ Wright. I've been singing KJ Wright. I wanted to sign KJ Wright forever. Since during the season. I think that KJ Wright, you guys talk about his playing, which, yeah. And also on top of that, his age and the fact, like you said, Hall, his defensive pedigree, the fact that he comes from a former championship team, the fact that he was on one of the best defenses of all time. And he could really help out some of these young guys, whoever they bring on, or a Cole Holcomb. He could really, I think, I think he would really, really help out.
Yep. And then the last question.
Who was the third guy that was said, by the way?
It was T.Y. Hilton.
Okay.
And I think T.Y.'s going back to Indy. Do you guys see all the tweets that all the players are tweeting at him, calling him ghost? Like, I'm searching for a ghost around Indy and stuff. It was really funny. Now the last question is from Douglas McCrae from the Big Douglas Show. Shout out to
Doug,
one of the Mount Rushmore of Washington podcasts. He wants to know, is linebacker really a priority if they play 3 safety sets and bunches? Maybe more after a full offseason to design something that really focuses on those 3 young safeties, Reed.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that they know what they're doing with that. I do think that you have to get another linebacker regardless, because I think we have to have somebody out there with Cole Holcomb, somebody who can really just fill that role of if you want him to cover, if you need him in there against the run, who can maybe even fill up the pass rush spot. You can go in there on blitzing downs. But yeah, I do definitely like the idea of 3 safeties. I think that's something that we're definitely going to see a lot of.
Yeah, I do think the linebackers in need. I on Sunday, I rewatched the game against Tampa in the playoff game, and the big glaring need there is linebacker, because so many times, I talked about it, Cam Curl is so damn good. And the reason for that is every time Tampa would run a play, you would see wide open green grass. Everyone's blocked, and then all of a sudden, here comes Mr. Curl coming up, and I called him the plug last year because he plugs gaps. He stops the run game every time, stopping somebody. You cannot bank on that. You're going to have linebackers that actually go down into the right gap and get these holes filled. And I really do believe that linebacker is that need. Now with the 3 safeties, that's great. That's a great thing to have when these teams go empty sets, when they're trying to widen you out. They're trying to make sure that you're thin in that position. That's awesome for that. But what happens in jumbo sets? They're going to be able to push you around, especially if you don't upgrade that linebacker position, in my personal opinion. So offenses are always going to have a counter. Regardless, in my opinion, yes, linebacker is still a need. You need to get younger at that position. You need to bring in somebody who could come in and possibly be a starter down the line. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, you guys pretty much hit all the points. I definitely think that linebacker, like we've been talking about, is definitely still a need, and it's definitely a position of need. And I can definitely see the 3 linebacker or the 3 safety things working. Like we talked about it before, where the Troy Apke experience was on the field, where it was Landon Collins, Troy Apke, and Cam Curl playing that rhino position.
Troy Apke, he's a nice guy.
It was an experience, right?
Yeah, it was the Troy Apke experience. So they had Cam Curl playing that rhino position up in the box, kind of that floater around the box. You can cover the running back out the backfield, cover the tight end out in the seams and the flats. So I definitely think they're going to shift towards that, obviously, because you got Landon Collins still here. If they don't make a move towards cutting him with that big contract, you're going to have to put him on the field at some point, somehow, some way. So you're definitely going to have 3 safeties on the field. But as far as linebacker, like you said, Kyle, it's definitely a position they need so far.
Yeah, watch them create a position where it stands at linebacker, but they're just going to call it safety spot. so there you go, Landon. You're not a linebacker, but you're still a safety, but you're playing.
We're going to run a 4-4.
You're going to have linebacker responsibilities.
Right.
We're running a 4-3-1-1.
All right, now let's get into our favorite segment of the episode, guys, the NFL prospect breakdown. And let's start with you, Reed. Who are you breaking down for everybody?
I'm going to keep this one kind of quick because old dad's got to get out of here in the next few minutes or 5 minutes or so. Go see the boy. I'm doing Elijah Moore, wide receiver out of Ole Miss, 5'9", 185 pounds. We all said he's one of our favorite wide receivers in this class.
My God.
Through 8 games last year, he had 86 catches for 1,193 yards and 8 touchdowns. I mean, he was Ole Miss's offense last year. He's a home run threat. He's a burner. He can do anything. He can take the ball to the house at any time, be that in the passing game or as a return man. He's got a very good release off the line. When he's not pressed, he can go 0 to 100 so fast, and he's already just a fast guy. He's a good route runner, obviously coming from that Ole Miss offense that helped produce DK Metcalf and the AJ Brown. They do a good job with wide receivers down there, but then again they also did produce what's his face, the dude who played for the Vikings. I forget his name.
Cordero Patterson.
No. What's his
wide receiver.
Laquan Treadwell.
Laquan Treadwell. That's what I was thinking of. It's like they had him in the same year too.
Right. Yeah.
I was like expecting him to be what AJ Brown was, and it was like
it sucked. Yeah. He's somebody who can hurt you in the slot or outside. And despite his small size, he creates a pretty big target for quarterbacks. He's just got a pretty big range, and he high points the ball. And last year he was unstoppable. He catches the ball through traffic. He always seems to hang on to the ball. I really love what I saw from Elijah Moore. There's really not a lot that I don't like about him, but some of his negatives is I saw him get brought down by shoelace tackles a lot. But it was kind of like that was one of the big flaws with him. He get brought down fairly easy. And when he gets pressed, he can kind of struggle with breaking the press with getting off the line
against physical corners like JC Horn. Yeah,
right, exactly. And then of course height limitations; those are always tough. But he's somebody who I could see him being a Jamison Crowder, or I could see him ending up being better than Jamison Crowder. He's somebody who I love. I would love to take a flyer on him, even though we have Curtis Samuel, who's a smaller wide receiver as well. I think Elijah Moore is somebody who could play inside or outside, and he's just a playmaker. You could never have enough of those.
You're absolutely right. I loved him. That's what the only issue for me with like Rondale Moore and Elijah Moore is we just signed Curtis Samuel. They're playing exactly honestly that's the same position,
right?
And I'm looking for that Z, and that's why like Nico Collins comes in. But mine, I'm gonna make it quick. I know you got to go read, but mine's gonna be Brevin Jordan, the tight end from Miami, sitting at 6'3", 245 pounds. Last year, he's a junior. He had 38 receptions, 576 yards, and 7 touchdowns with a 15.2 average. The beauty about Brevin Jordan is that he is a vertical threat. He is a big body. He can run after the catch, but he's also a willing and good blocker. What Miami, good thing for them is what they did is they would line him up in bunches out wide. He can line up anywhere in the slot, and what they would do is they would run a lot of screens to that side, so you would have a great blocker out there, but at the same time, he can run routes from that position and do well. Even though they had very poor quarterback play, he showed out, and especially in the game against Oklahoma State, which was their bowl game, he had 8 receptions, 96 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's going against the 21st team in the in college football. And then against UNC, the 17th ranked college football team, the game before that, 6 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown.
That impresses me because Chaz Surratt was so good in coverage. So
he is a big, tough, physical guy. He blocks really well on the line of scrimmage or out in the slot. He can do it all: pass blocking, run blocking. I don't think he's going to make it to 3rd round. I think what they have to do is they have to use that 2nd rounder if they are going to want to upgrade that tight end position. Brevin Jordan is going to have to be taken in 2nd because he is just too good. I don't think people are going to pass him up. Who are you got, Hall?
Yeah, I'm going to make mine quick as well. I got Jabril Cox, linebacker from LSU, 6'3", 233, runs a 4.6 40. He's a pursuit style type of linebacker that can play. He's great in man coverage. He's the perfect 4-3 linebacker. He can cover tight ends. He's great in man coverage. He's excellent in zone coverage as well. Just all around great tight end or great linebacker in coverage. He started his career at North Dakota State because he tore his ACL in high school. So his scholarships kind of went away. Decided, you know what, I want to play big boy ball after being all Missouri Valley Conference in 2018 and 2019. Yeah. Dominated, best player on the field by far. Every single game stood out. Goes to the SEC. People were kind of like, is he going to get kind of mixed up and wishy-washy into this being an average guy, or will he still stand out? Still goes there, stands out. Started all 10 games in 2020. He had 3 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown. He had 38 tackles, 6.5 for a loss. He had 5 breakups as well. He has 10 interceptions in his whole college career, which is for a linebacker. That's great.
Yeah, that's insane.
Some weaknesses he has are he lacks patience as far as like diagnosing the run in the pass. He's kind of just a balls to the wall type of guy where if he sees it, he goes and hunts it. So you can definitely get him on a lot of play action fakes and stuff like that. Luckily, he has the speed to kind of recover, and he's like a real rangy type of guy. So if he does get beat across the middle, he could possibly recover, bat the ball down if it's a kind of a low pass or something like that, or if it's a crossing route. What else is he lacks aggressive. He needs to be more aggressive on taking on blocks in the run game. Like I said, he's kind of not really a smaller guy, but his frame is kind of small. So he kind of gets washed around by the linemen in the run game. So if he can bulk up a little bit, take on more blocks aggressively, I think he'd be a very good asset for Washington football. And I had a player comp, which was Tamir Whitehead. So I was like, the name sounds familiar. Let me look him up a little bit. It was a dude that started 139 games, or played in 139 games, 95 starts. I had 684 tackles, 6 interceptions, 3 sacks. And what stood out to me the most was he had an 8-year career, played for 3 teams. Detroit, guess who the other 2 were? Oakland and Carolina. So he has familiarity with Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio. Tamir Whitehead is. So if they kind of make the comparison to him, could be a great asset for Washington football.
Now, I will say one of the Jabril Cox's biggest weaknesses that I saw from doing his film is missed tackles. I saw a lot of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, he has great interceptions and everything, but the 38 tackles kind of tells you something in 10 games. That's not
exactly.
So he's got to get better at that.
That's what I'm saying. He can come in as kind of like a third down guy, like a coverage guy, and kind of learn the game and like become that hopefully 3-down guy.
Yeah, but he's a great athlete, absolutely. Let's go. Rio just said that I was on Washington football team today, but I wasn't able to watch because we were recording. So that's really cool. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Thank you to Damien of Riggos Rag for coming on, being able to talk with us. I really like that guy. He was very impressive.
Damien.
Thank you, you two. You guys are phenomenal. All right, everybody. We will see you guys on Thursday. We're going to have a very special guest of the Draft Network. We are picking them apart. Dude, I absolutely love the Draft Network. Ever since we had Trevor Sikkema on not too long ago, I love the Draft Network and their mock. So, everyone, we'll catch you then. I'm Kyle.
I am Hall.
And hello. I'm here to talk to you about something serious. Do you have issues with genital herpes? Try Herpesonel, the #1 doctor recommended. Go ahead.
I thought you were going to say it. You might be Hall. All right, everybody. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Washington football. Hey! What's up, everybody? It's your man Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. I hope you enjoyed the last video as much as we did. If you like what you saw, please like the video by clicking the thumbs up symbol and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us continuing to do what we do and making great content for y'all. If you want to stay up to date on new episodes, make sure you click on the notification bell, and I'll see you guys next time.